Traditional finance is a mess. Bitcoin has become the king of stability. Both large and small investors lay flat with their coins. Is the new era of Bitcoin coming? Justin Sun joins hands with Trump's second son. $1 to be officially launched. Is TRON heading for an IPO? Coinbase is waiting. Gemini is advancing. Can MiCA still enforce the rules? El Salvador has doubled its currency hoarding and is skirting the law. Does it really think that the International Monetary Fund is a victim? Michael Saylor has arrived in Pakistan. Is he a presidential advisor or a coin hoarding coach?
On Tuesday, June 17th, BitcoinTV Chinese channel, Where is the Coin Chain? I am MiCA Idongdong. Let's first take a look at the 24-hour data headlines of the cryptocurrency circle. Since the launch of Bitcoin Spot ETF in the United States in 2024, the entire market has been like an accelerator. Now, the trading volume of these ETFs has accounted for 25% of the global Bitcoin Spot transactions, while in October last year, this figure was only 10%. This shows that both retail investors and institutions are increasingly fond of this compliant and worry-free way to buy Bitcoin. No need to worry about wallets or private keys, just buy stocks directly on the brokerage app. Who doesn't love it? At the same time, old-fashioned crypto exchanges like Coinbase and Binance are a bit uncomfortable. On the one hand, funds flow to ETFs, and on the other hand, the influence of platforms is getting weaker and weaker. On the contrary, Wall Street bigwigs such as BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK have entered the market with ETF products and directly taken away the market dominance bit by bit. For example, on June 16th, ETFs alone attracted $400 million in funds, and the price of Bitcoin immediately rose to $109,000. This is the power of Wall Street. In general, Bitcoin is becoming more and more like a financial product. In the future crypto market, how to play, how to set prices, and who has the final say may all be completely rewritten. If native platforms want to remain viable, they must compete with the community and innovation, otherwise they will just have to watch themselves become scraps. As of June 15th, the latest on-chain data shows that the amount of Bitcoin flowing into Binance has fallen to the lowest point in this round of market. The amount of Bitcoin flowing into the whale address is 633.63 coins. Compared with 1,385.4 coins a month ago, the decline is more than 54%. The inflow of retail Bitcoins to small amount coin holding addresses is 448.8 coins, basically unchanged. This sends a clear signal that the market is not panicking and everyone is in a stable state of mind. Geopolitics is quite tense, and the price of coins has also been a little volatile, but no one is in a hurry to cash out. According to past experience, this state of holding coins like first love often appears in the middle of a bull market, and everyone wants to rise again and make more money. As long as ETFs or the overall environment come up with some help, this wave may explode directly. At present, the amount of BTC flowing into the exchange is as low as 3 o'clock in the middle of the night in a busy city. And there is no movement in the selling, so the price of the coin naturally has the confidence to hold up calmly. The key is that everyone has a very Buddhist mentality and no one wants to sell at a loss. If there is a macro good news one day and some hot money from ETFs adds fuel to the fire, maybe we can see a wave of rocket-like recovery, and it is not a dream to go straight up. Kaunsh. In the past, everyone thought that once the US dollar index, DXY, and the US Treasury yield moved, risky assets would jump up and down. But now Bitcoin doesn't want to play with them. From the fourth quarter of 2024 to now, the US dollar index has been falling all the way, and it can't even hold 98. Although the US Treasury yield is still high overall, different maturities have begun to go their separate ways, and the trend is a bit chaotic. And in this environment of high interest rates plus policy ambiguity, Bitcoin has actually been under pressure all the way up, touching $105,000 many times, and its status can be said to be stable and strong. What does this show? It shows that Bitcoin is no longer the speculative coin that sways with the wind. It is transforming into a structural asset. Institutions are willing to allocate, ETFs are willing to buy, and retail investors are also beginning to hold it for a long time. In other words, the market is now increasingly treating BTC as a new type of asset that has growth potential and can resist volatility. Especially since the Federal Reserve has not yet made it clear when to cut interest rates, Bitcoin is still so resilient, which shows that its role has changed. Whether Bitcoin will rise in the future may no longer depend on the currency circle, but on whether the US dollar will be released, whether ETF funds will flow in, and whether the policy will be relaxed. It is no longer just a Bitcoin in the currency circle, but a chip in the global financial market. Please like and follow us to sort out the latest developments in the currency, blockchain, and mining circles within 24 hours. Click the small bell to join the channel and become a member. You can get the Member Wealth password from Monday to Friday. As soon as Trump came to power, Sun Yatsen's side immediately turned to sunny, and the civil fraud lawsuit of the US SEC was directly paused. What's more exciting is that it is said that Eric Trump will parachute into the management of TRON Inc.'s key component placement, and Sun Yue-chen himself will also retreat to the advisory seat and become an SRM consultant. It is obvious that he wants to cool down quietly and get less regulatory attention, but do you think he will be idle after he retires? TRON is still very fierce. The transaction speed is millions per second, the handling fee is cheap as if it is free, and the confirmation is fast, which has firmly made USDT a native of this chain. CryptoQuant's data for 2024 is also unambiguous. 2 million USDT transfers will be made every day, and by June 2025, the circulation of TRC-20 USDT will soar to $78 billion, firmly establishing its position as the world's largest stablecoin. Sun Yue-chen's operation is a complete invisible operation and continued to roll on the chain.
According to U.S. media reports, TRON is planning to go public in the U.S. through a reverse merger with Nasdaq-listed SRM Entertainment. It is expected that the new company will be renamed TRON Incorporated and become the first U.S.-listed company with TRX as its core asset. During this period, TRON blockchain ushered in a breakthrough, and the first batch of 1,001 US dollar stablecoins were successfully minted and launched. Sun Yue-chen, the founder of TRON, said that although this is a small step for $1, it is a big step for the development of global stablecoins. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Group, forwarded his support and thanked the TRON ecosystem for its support for $1. The market believes that the reason why TRON has become the first choice for $1 is because it has structural advantages in payment, settlement, and transaction efficiency.
I guess you just let it slip, but it's a good time for another announcement that we will be natively integrating USD1 on TRON. We're very excited about that. We should be minting, in the hundreds of millions of dollars to start, and I expect it to reach many billions of market cap very shortly.
At the Token 2049 summit in May, Justin Sun, Eric Trump, the second son of the Trump family, and Zach Witkoff, co-founder of WLFI, jointly announced that USD1 will be natively deployed on the TRON network, and this promise has now been quickly implemented. Compared with Ethereum's supply of $47.67 million and BNB Chain's supply of $2.141 billion, although TRON started a little later, with its huge user base of 300 million and mature stablecoin ecology, USD1 is expected to quickly seize the market. At present, TRON has formed a coexistence pattern of USDT, USDD, USDJ, and USD1, and the total circulation of stablecoins on the chain is close to $80 billion, firmly ranking in the leading camp of global public chains. MiCA regulations will take effect in June 2024 and will be fully implemented in December. As the regulations are steadily implemented in the EU, major crypto exchanges are accelerating their compliance layout. Bybit has obtained permission from the Austrian regulator and has become one of the first platforms to obtain MiCA compliance status. Binance also updated its deposit and withdrawal mechanism in Poland in January this year in response to the new regulations. Originally, MiCA was the encryption law that the EU wanted to use to set rules. But as soon as it was launched, each country began to go its own way, which was a bit out of control. Malta issued licenses as fast as cheating. MiCA has only been in effect for a few weeks, and HKEX and Crypto.com have been approved. Other countries are simply dumbfounded. Is this regulation, or is it grabbing platforms to spread candy? Seeing that everyone is competing for the landing of projects, the regulatory threshold is getting lower and lower. MiCA wants to unify the market, but in the end, it has become a water release and internal competition.
Recently, Coinbase and Gemini have applied for licenses in Luxembourg and Malta respectively. Once approved, they will be able to operate legally in the 27 EU countries. Gemini is a U.S. cryptocurrency exchange established in 2014. Previously, it had a lawsuit with Genesis over the Earned Lending project, and finally paid $1.1 billion to users and was fined $37 million. This year, they also submitted an IPO application to the U.S. SEC, clearing their business while rushing. Now Gemini is only one step away from obtaining the official license from Malta.
Malta's speed in issuing licenses has already attracted official complaints. French regulator AMF and European Securities and Markets Authority ESMA directly named Malta, saying that the approval was too casual. ESMA even checked the process directly. On the other hand, Coinbase had been working so hard to apply for a license in Luxembourg. It was finally approved, but it was also involved in the storm of unfair supervision. Some people complained that it would not be of much use even if it was approved, and the business scale might not be able to grow. But the spokesperson of Coinbase denied it, saying that they already have more than 200 people in Europe and are still recruiting people and spending resources. Although MiCA has a good intention and wants to unify the EU crypto circle, judging from the current pace of licensing in various countries, you are fast and I am slow. You release water and I increase it. I am afraid that the road to unified supervision will take a long time.
They said they would not buy more bitcoins, but the National Treasury ended up with 240 more bitcoins? Who is El Salvador trying to impress? Government meeting turns into Bitcoin training class in seconds? Pakistan has big ambitions.
El Salvador is the first country in the world to use Bitcoin as legal tender. Since President Nayib Bukele came to power, he has treated Bitcoin as his own son, investing 1 Bitcoin every day, hoping to boost the economy and attract foreign investment. At the end of last year, although they signed a $1.4 billion loan agreement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, there was a special clause in the agreement: please don't buy Bitcoin anymore. But what was the result? They didn't take this regulation seriously at all. From December 19, 2024 to now, they continue to buy Bitcoin. They are playing a hypocritical role. The one they agreed with is Lu Xun. What does it have to do with me, Joe Shuren?
As of now, the El Salvador Treasury wallet holds a total of 6,209 bitcoins. 240 of them were exchanged on December 19, 2024. IMF. The new purchases were made after the loan agreement was signed. Although the agreement explicitly states that the government will not continue to purchase Bitcoin, Rodrigo Valdez, head of the IMF's Western Hemisphere Department, responded in April this year that the El Salvador Ministry of Finance was not directly involved in these new purchases, so it was still in compliance with the terms of the agreement at a technical level.
Va a ser beneficiado de esa visión que gracias a Dios tuvimos en el 2021. Y no la venimos a implementar en el 2025 cuando ya digamos es tarde y hay otros países que tomaron la delantera. Gracias a Dios, por ejemplo, compramos Bitcoin no al valor que tal vez compraron otros que lo pensaron antes, pero sí compramos a un buen valor que nos ha dejado ahorita un 110% de ganancia.
Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele really regards Bitcoin as the main engine of the national economy. No matter how violent the price fluctuations are or how great the international pressure is, he still insists on buying and hoarding. Even if the market fluctuates greatly, El Salvador still sticks to the path of hoarding coins to save the country. And it is quite clever, using various flexible ways to bypass the restrictions of the IMF. It can be seen that they really put the encryption strategy at the top of the priority. However, this operation is also controversial. On the one hand, some people think that this is to formally promote Bitcoin into the national financial system, which is quite forward-looking. But on the other hand, some people are worried. Will your finances have problems? Will the IMF be unhappy if you go around like this? El Salvador is now walking on a tightrope of wanting independence and wanting assistance. How the IMF plays its cards next is estimated to directly affect the direction of this national encryption experiment. Metaplanet is buying up Bitcoin again. On June 16th, it spent 16.88 billion yen to buy 1,112 BTC directly, and its total holdings broke through the 10,000 mark in one fell swoop. As soon as the news came out, the market was excited. The Tokyo stock market opened with a gap and opened higher, and finally closed up 22%. This short-term performance is simply too hot. This wave of operations cost about $96,400 per coin, which is not low to be honest, but people are rich and dare to buy. According to Bitbo data, Metaplanet's Bitcoin holdings have surpassed Coinbase and officially squeezed into the top 10 of the global listed company Bitcoin Rich List, ranking 9th. In the final analysis, their gameplay is actually not complicated. To put it bluntly, it is copying MicroStrategies. Previously, American companies took the lead, and now even Japan has joined the e-coin hoarding army. It feels that this wave of Bitcoin corporate FOMO has just begun.
Recently, Pakistan's Ministry of Finance held a high-level dialogue on Bitcoin. Finance Minister Aurangzeb met with Blockchain Affairs Minister Saqib, strategy founder Michael Saylor, who expressed his willingness to serve as Pakistan's crypto strategy advisor. Saqib called for learning from the United States practices and transforming companies into Bitcoin reserve tools. It is worth mentioning that in addition to his government position, Saqib also serves as a consultant to World Liberty Financial, which has attracted attention from the outside world.
Currently, more than 60 listed companies in the world hold more than 67,210,000 bitcoins, accounting for about 3.2% of the total supply of bitcoins. The wave of corporate hoarding coins is gradually spreading from the US technology circle to Asia and other regions. As of June this year, Strategy has 582,000 bitcoins and more than $61 billion in holdings, ranking first among global listed companies as the Bitcoin King. Since its first purchase in 2020, the company has raised funds by issuing bonds and additional shares, increasing its holdings all the way, and its stock price has soared by more than 3,000%. Now they have brought this set of tactics to Pakistan, and it feels that the Bitcoin wave in South Asia is also about to take off. If even developing countries begin to seriously engage in national hoarding of coins, then what is a reserve asset in the future will really have to be rearranged.
Recently, Tether froze more than $12.3 million USDT on the TRON blockchain. Although Tether has not yet responded, the market generally speculates that this move is related to U.S. Treasury sanctions or anti-money laundering compliance. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and Ripple have submitted a status report to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, requesting a continued suspension of the appeal process on the grounds that the local court is still hearing key motions. Both parties agreed that the SEC will submit the next status update before August 15, 2025. According to Chain Monitoring, the FTX cold wallet received 252,847 SOL from Coinbase Prime 11 hours ago, with a market value of approximately $39.72 million at the time. OpenAI is negotiating new financial arrangements with its largest shareholder, Microsoft, hoping that Microsoft will give up its right to share in future profits and instead hold approximately 33% of the shares in the reorganized department. European digital asset management company CoinShares has submitted an application for Solana Spot ETF to the US SEC. This is less than a week after 7 institutions, including 21 shares and Bitwise, updated and submitted relevant applications.
Okay, the above is the main content of today's program. Our channel focuses on valuable news in the currency circle, chain circle, and mining circle. There are news information and in-depth special reports. If you think our channel is valuable, you are welcome to forward and follow it. You can also become our member and receive the member wealth code from Monday to Friday. Let us become rich together and add a zero to our assets in the bull market. See you tomorrow.